Now, a couple of months ago in the off season, there were a group of people, I call them the college football expansionist party. And basically, they were saying that the college football playoffs needs to be expanded because four teams isn't cutting it. And the first thing that they said for why the college football playoffs needs to be expanded is, well, we need more parity in college football. We have the same four teams in every year. It's Alabama, Clemson, Oklahoma, Ohio State. Like, we need some new blood. Well, what happens this season? Well, Alabama's still in, but Georgia makes it back to the playoffs for the first time in a while. Then you have Michigan and you have Cincinnati, a G5 school, which was another reason why everybody wanted to advocate for college football expansion when it came to the playoffs, because they said, oh, well, these G5 schools don't have a shot of making it in. Like, they practice hard, they bust their tails all summer, all spring, and they don't even have a shot. Now Cincinnati's in. So what is your argument now? Well, now you have some people telling me on Twitter. I was going back and forth with one person saying that all Cincinnati's only in because the committee had no choice because they didn't have anybody else to put over Cincinnati. Okay, like, everybody knew that if Cincinnati was going to get in, they were going to need some help. Before the season, I actually had Cincinnati in the college football playoffs, and a lot of people in the comment section said, you really think that Cincinnati's going to get in? So you're basically saying that you don't think Clemson or Ohio State or even Oklahoma are going to get in? And I said, yep. So really, the problem with the college football playoffs, I don't really think there is one when it comes to four teams. The only reason why people want to expand is either because they want to see more bowl games or they want to see more playoff games. And two, they want their school to have another shot at getting in. And by expanding the college football playoffs, all you're going to do is make it more easier for schools like Alabama and Ohio State and Clemson to get in. Like, you want parity. The only reason why Alabama, Clemson, and Ohio State are not dominating every single year is because we only have four teams, so the margin of error is really small. Meanwhile, if you expand the college football playoffs to 8 teams, 12 teams, you're going to make it even more easier for Alabama, Clemson, and those blue blood college football programs to get in, because now they don't have to worry about losing one game and not being included. Now they can lose 2 games and still get in. Like, it doesn't really make a lot of sense. Like, you want parity in college football. The best way to ensure parity is by keeping 4 teams, because then if you expand it, you're going to open up the opportunity for Ohio State and other schools to have a loss or 2 to get in. Like, if we had an 8-team college football playoffs right now this season, Ohio State would be in. We would still have the same programs in the college football playoffs every single season. The only reason why we don't see those same schools in and year out repeatedly dominating this sport is because you're only allowed to have 4 teams in this thing. You want to expand it to 8 teams, then 12. We're going to see Alabama in this thing for the next 2 decades. And I don't think nobody wants that. So if you're going to bring about parity, I think the only way to ensure parity and to, limit the amount of dominance that we see in this thing is by keeping it at 4 teams. Now, then on top of that, you got the little auto bids discussion, like how is that going to work? Are you going to have an at-large bid to a G5 school or at-large bid to, your conference champions? Like, I don't know about you, but I don't want to see a 4-loss Pac-12 team in the college football playoffs. I don't want to see a 4-loss G5 school in the college football playoffs, because quite frankly, a lot of G5 schools aren't as talented as what Cincinnati is. And on top of that, for a G5 school to get into the playoffs, it never was that the committee had a bias against G5 schools. It's just that there has never really been a G5 school that has played a legitimate schedule with legitimate opponents, such as what Cincinnati was able to do this year. Cincinnati was able to schedule an Indiana, a Notre Dame, and on top of that, they got lucky that Houston was as good as what they were, and they were able to beat them in the American Athletic Conference Championship game. So that also helped boost their resume. Like, if we're going to make the argument for G5 schools being in the college football playoffs, we need to be going hard to make sure that we can fix scheduling in college football, which is something that I'm about to get into in a couple of minutes. But really, the whole idea that the college football playoffs needs to be expanded is because, oh, we need more parity. Well, we have three different teams. We have three new teams essentially in the college football playoffs. Like Georgia has made it back in for the first time in a while. Then you got Michigan and Cincinnati, who had less than a 1% chance of making it into the playoffs at the start of this year. So you have your new teams there. Like, why is nobody satisfied? You got your G5 school in there in Cincinnati. Nobody's still satisfied. It's like in life, you can never really satisfy somebody. That's like somebody telling you, hey man, can you get me a bag of chips? They don't tell you the kind of chips they want. They just say, hey, man, just give me a bag of chips. So you go in the corner store and you bring back some Fritos, and they're not happy with the fact that you brought back Fritos. No knock against Fritos, but nobody really cares for Fritos. You ever brought the little variety pack of chips from the store? They got like Doritos, Funyuns, Ruffles, and you got Fritos there. Like, Fritos are the bag of chips that people only eat because they already ate all of the other chips. You already ate your Doritos, your Funyuns, and your Ruffles, and the only thing you got left are your Fritos. So nobody's happy with that. Nobody's happy that you ask them to do something, you come back and you do it for them, and they're still not satisfied. Like, people always want more. Like Mike Leach say, the only way to really satisfy everybody is just go ahead and make a 64-team college football playoffs and just go ahead and put everybody in. Give everybody a shot to compete. Like, there's nothing wrong with the 4-team system. And really, to be honest with you, I don't really feel like there's been too many years when the committee has got it wrong. Like, the only time people have had a lot of issues with the committee is when Notre Dame has been put in, because then you have the whole argument of, well, Notre Dame's not in the conference. They didn't play a conference championship game. They don't have that extra data point in there. Like, how do you properly assess Notre Dame? Like, other than Notre Dame, I feel like the committee has got it right more times than not. But of course, everybody's not going to be happy because with 4 teams, somebody's going to get left out. But if you expand it to 8 teams, somebody's still going to get left out. If you expand it to 12, somebody's still going to get left out. If you expand it to 64, there's still going to be some teams that people feel should have got in who got left out. Like, it doesn't matter how many times you expand this thing, you're still going to have some teams who are going to get left out. That's just what happens. Everybody can't participate in this thing. This is an exclusive club. The college football playoffs is meant to honor the best teams in college football. And the more you expand it, the more you dilute the sport. You're going to take away from the regular season. And everybody's talking about well, JT, now the regular season is going to mean more if you put in auto bids, because then you're going to have to win your conference champions. Okay, but what about your at-large team? So you're basically telling me a 2 or 3 loss Alabama team makes the regular season mean something? Four teams in the college football playoffs means that you can only get in by maybe only losing 1 game. And even if you lose 1 game, you still might not get in. Like, that makes the regular season have meaning. Okay? The more you expand this thing, the less meaning the regular season has, because then the more losses that you have, you still have a good shot at getting in. Like 2 losses, 3 losses, you still gotta have a shot at getting in a 12-team college football playoffs. Even an 8-team college football playoffs, it just depends on how the committee views the teams and views the losses and views the, quality opponents that they played and the strength of wins. Like, the more you expand the playoffs, the less meaning that you're going to take away from the regular season. And on top of that, the college football playoffs has already hurt bowl season. You wonder why these players keep opting out and keep saying meaningless bowl games, because pretty much everybody has been told over the last couple of years, if you're not in the playoffs, you're irrelevant. Nobody cares. Like, that's what's hurting the sport. The college football playoffs is hurting the sport. And what you want to do? You want to expand it more to hurt the sport even further? It doesn't really make a lot of sense. You already got what you've been asking for. You got your parity. You got new teams in this joint. You also got your G5 school in this joint. What more do you want? What more do you want? Like Mike Lee said, we might as well go ahead and expand this thing to 64 teams. Hell, we might as well go ahead and put 128 teams in there. Let's just go ahead and have 128 team college football playoffs. Let's just have 5 regular season games. And then after that, we just have a battle royale in this thing. Like, I don't really understand why people continue to push this narrative that the college football playoffs need to be expanded. It's good with 4 teams. If your team loses a game and they don't get in, oh well, that's on them. Win your games and you don't have to worry about not being included. And if you're a G5 school, make sure that you go ahead and schedule some good opponents. But I know it's kind of hard to do that because scheduling in college football is broke, which leads me to my next topic.